These 7 cupcakes have one very important thing in common. Can you guess what that is? We're going to talk about it in just a moment. I'm Susan, and this is Weekend Cupcakes. Fall is here, and that's what inspired me to make these cupcakes. So, what does make them so special? Look closely. Notice how the colors repeat from one cupcake to the other? Choosing what colors to decorate your cupcakes with is an important part of the creative process. And the idea behind this is that not only should each cupcake look good on its own, but they all have to look good together and complement each other so that they look like a set. In this video, we'll be decorating these 7 cupcakes with a special focus on how to coordinate your colors so that your cupcakes come together like a family on Thanksgiving. So the 4 main colors we'll be using are this toned down yellow, which I made with Wilton's golden yellow, some lemon yellow, a little bit of brown, a little bit of leaf green, and a little bit of orange. Next, we have some orange that I made with Wilton's orange, some Christmas red, and a little bit of brown. And here, I have burgundy, which I made with lots and lots of Wilton's burgundy. And finally, I have this creamy beige that I made with just a tiny bit of brown. Now, we won't be using every single color on every single cupcake, and we won't be limited to just these 4 colors, but we will use each color on at least 3 to 4 cupcakes. That's the key to making our cupcakes look like they belong together. So with that in mind, let's dive right in with our first cupcake, the Dahlia. We'll be using the Ateco 125K, which is a very thin petal tip with the orange frosting. We also have some green frosting with the Wilton No. 10 round tip, and I made this green with Wilton's moss green. Finally, I tried to make a darker orange by adding a bit more red and brown. This bag has a Wilton 59S tip, which is a very small curved petal tip. We'll need to mark out a circle in the middle of the cupcake to use as a guide for our petals. I'm using this 1.1-inch round cookie cutter. Place it in the center of the cupcake, push down, and turn to mark out a ring on the crumb coat. Place the back end of the 125K on the edge of the ring. When you squeeze the bag, move it towards 1 o'clock, so away from you, and to the right, then come back to your starting point. This will create a folded petal. Turn the cupcake and leave a space between the next petal. Place the tip on the edge of the ring, squeeze, move out diagonally, and come back in. Just keep doing this all around the cupcake. You should have about 6 or 7 petals. We're going to pipe our next row of petals pretty much right on top of the first petals. The third row of petals will be to the left of the petals you just piped. Use the same motion as before. You'll see that you still have a space between the petals, which is fine. Once you've gone all around, continue piping petals in those empty spaces. Whenever you need to, clean your tip and tighten your bag. For the next row, we're going to move in and tilt the tip up a little bit. We're going to use the same motion, but this time our petals are going to be smaller. We're still leaving a small space between these petals. Look for gaps in between the bigger petals and place a small petal. For the last row, make the petals a bit smaller, space them out, and tilt your tip even higher so the petal is pointing up. Have one last look to see if there are any gaps that can be filled in with a petal. With the number 10 round tip and the green frosting, we're going to pipe a mound in the center of the cupcake, but in such a way that it won't fill the whole area. Hold the tip slightly above the cupcake, squeeze, let the frosting balloon out a little, then slowly pull the tip up to create the mound. Stop squeezing and do a circular motion to come off. Now, we'll use the 59S to cover the mound. I'm just going to test it to make sure the frosting comes out. Okay, there we go. Place the tip against the mound, squeeze, pull up, follow the side of the mound so the petal falls over it, and then stop squeezing and pull away. My first petal didn't come up all the way. No big deal. I'll just pipe another one. Okay, that's pretty good. Just keep piping petals all around the mound. Do a second row all around the mound again. For the third row, pipe the petals straight up so they don't fall over the mound. Keep piping petals around the mound. As you pipe further out, try to open the petals up by piping away from the mound. This is a really small tip, so it can quickly get messy. Clean your tip and tighten your bag as often as necessary. As you can see, sometimes I'm just putting the tip back down on the cupcake, even when I have some frosting sticking out. This isn't a bad thing because these little petals should look kind of crazy and disorganized. And there's our Dahlia. The orange in the center is not that much darker than the rest of the petals. To give you an idea of what I was going for, here's a picture of one I did in burgundy. Lesson learned! For best results, the colors should be noticeably different from each other, so make sure you have the colors you really want before filling your piping bag. Since Thanksgiving and Halloween are right around the corner, I just had to do a cupcake with some pumpkins. This is in keeping with my fall theme, and it incorporates 3 of my 4 colors. I have a bag with a Wilton No. 10 piping tip on it. The main color will be orange, but I'm blending in some yellow and burgundy with the orange. The frosting has to be a stiff consistency because we don't want the 3 colors to merge into one color. We want to be able to see each color slightly blended together. Add a bit of yellow and a bit of burgundy. Then very gently mix the 3 colors together so that they're blended, but you can still distinguish each color. Put that in the bag and then repeat the process with some more orange, yellow, and burgundy. Once you have enough frosting in the bag, eliminate any air bubbles and push the frosting towards the tip. I've crumb-coated my cupcake into a small mound of moss green frosting. This will allow the pumpkins to be angled outward. I'm using a 1-inch cookie cutter to mark out 3 areas on the cupcake for the pumpkins. I'll be using the multicolored orange with the Wilton No. 10. For the stems, I have some brown that I made by adding cocoa powder to my frosting, and I'll be piping the stems with a Wilton No. 21. For the vines, I have some moss green with the Wilton No. 2 tip, and I also have the Ateco No. 349 on standby for the leaves. Place your tip at a 90-degree angle on the edge of one of the circles. Squeeze, let the frosting come out, pull up, then come back down towards the center of the circle. Turn your cupcake, place your tip on the edge of the circle, and repeat. You'll notice that the colors come out at random, which is fine. The goal is to have an orange pumpkin with some nice yellow and burgundy highlights. Just keep piping all around the circle. Clean your tip and tighten your bag when needed. Next, we'll use the Wilton 21 with the brown. Place the tip in the center of the pumpkin, squeeze, let the frosting balloon out, lift up, stop squeezing, and pull away. Now, we'll take the Wilton No. 2 with the green frosting. Place the tip next to the stem. Squeeze, let the frosting come out, and then pull away while making a circular motion over the pumpkin to make a small curly vine. Do 3 or 4 swirls, stop squeezing, and pull away. We'll pipe 2 or 3 of these on the pumpkin, and then we'll switch to the Ateco 349 and pipe some leaves. Make sure the pointy parts of the tip are on the top and bottom. Place the tip next to the stem and squeeze. Let the frosting balloon out, stop squeezing, and pull away. Let's do a few more, and boom! There's our first pumpkin. So, now we just have to pipe 2 more. In order to optimize the space on the cupcake, make sure to start your second pumpkin right next to the pumpkin you just piped. While I'm doing this, go ahead and hit the like button if you're enjoying this video. Also, make sure to subscribe to the channel and have your notifications turned on so you don't miss anything. All right. To finish up this pumpkin trio, I'm going to add some grass with the Wilton 233 and the green frosting. This tip is pretty wide, so I'm also going to use the Wilton number 2 to get in the tighter spaces. Place the tip at a 90-degree angle against the edge of the cupcake. Squeeze, let the frosting make contact, and pull up, then stop squeezing and pull away. Just fill in as much space as you can. Now, let's switch the tip to the Wilton number 2 and pipe more grass in those tighter spots. And just like that, we have some of the cutest pumpkins out there. Let's go back to piping some more flowers with our third cupcake, the Gerbera. I've already crumb-coated my cupcake, so let's have a look at what we need. We'll be using the Wilton tip 104 with the burgundy frosting. Next, we have the Ateco 227, which is a smiley face petal tip, but it has a bar in the center. And we have some pink frosting that I made with a little bit of Wilton burgundy. We also have the Wilton 16, an open star tip, with some black frosting that I made by adding some Wilton black coloring to the brown frosting. The last tip is the Wilton number 1 with some beige frosting. For this flower, you could use white frosting, but since I had beige for some other items, it made sense to use it here. I'm going to mark out some circles on the cupcake. I'm using a 1.6-inch cookie cutter to mark the outer edge and a Wilton number 12 tip to mark the center. We're going to start with the outer edge petals with the Wilton 104. Place the fat end of the piping tip on the cupcake in front of the mark, with the thin end slightly up, and we'll pipe the petals all around the cupcake. We'll do a teardrop motion to make a small petal. Turn your cupcake, place the tip under the petal you just made, and pipe the next petal, repeating that teardrop motion. Just keep doing this until you've gone all the way around. Clean your tip and then start a second row right on top of the petals you just piped. Turn your tip slightly up a bit so the petals will be higher. Pipe the petals all around. Next, we'll pipe the center with the black frosting and the Wilton 16. Let me test my frosting first. Okay, it's good. We're going to pipe all around that middle circle. Hold your tip at a 90-degree angle, slightly above the cupcake. Squeeze, let the frosting balloon out a bit, stop squeezing, and pull up. You can pipe right on the line all around. Turn your cupcake so you can see what you're doing. Once you've piped the outer edge, move towards the center and pipe another row. Just keep piping until you've filled the circle. Look at the center to see if there are any areas that need a bit more frosting. Touch up with a few more stars as needed. With the Ateco 227 and the pink frosting, we'll pipe the center petals. Let me test this out. The frosting needs to be stiff enough for the petals to stand up straight. Okay, that looks good. Place your tip on the edge of the burgundy petals and pipe all around. Squeeze, let the frosting connect. Pull up slowly, stop squeezing, and pull away. Then turn your cupcake and pipe another one. Actually, I think it would be better if I hold my cupcake. Just keep piping all around. When you get back to where you started, move in and pipe a second row. It's okay if they're not all the same size. Oops! Let's clean the tip. I'm going to go right back in and pipe over that. All right, let's do a third row. We'll keep going like that until we get to the center. Now, we could leave the flower as is, and it would already be a very impressive cupcake. But I'm going to add some extra awesomeness to it by piping a few little beige stamens with the Wilton number 1. The frosting needs to be stiff enough to stand up. Okay, that looks good. So we're going to look for gaps in the pink petals where we can add those stamens. Fit your tip in the gap, squeeze, and then slowly move up. Stop squeezing and pull away. It might be difficult to get them to stick, so be patient and keep trying. They will eventually stick. Okay, let me try again. Try again. Good thing I talked about patience. Anyway, after a series of trial and error, we have our third fall cupcake. So, you might be wondering, what does this Gerbera have in common with these other two cupcakes? The answer to that is not much, for now. But our next cupcake will tie them all together. A great way to repeat the colors in your cupcake set is with a triple flower cupcake. You can make small versions of the big flowers, or, at the very least, make small flowers that are the same color as items that appear on other cupcakes. I've used my crumb coat to create a mound on my cupcake. Like the pumpkins, this will angle each flower outward. I'm using the 1-inch cookie cutter to mark out where I'm going to place the flowers. Try and space the marks out evenly. Next, we'll use a Wilton No. 5 tip with the moss green to pipe a ring of frosting around the edge of each of those circles. This will raise the petals from the cupcake. Actually, I'm going to do one at a time. This will go in the fridge for a few minutes to harden the frosting. We're going to start with a sunflower. For the yellow frosting, I'm using a modified Wilton 101 tip. I did this by squeezing the tip with some pliers. To give you an idea, here's the original tip compared to the modified one. The center will be made with some brown frosting and the Wilton 13, which is a very small open star tip. We're simply going to pipe outward and come back to the center in a straight line. Place what used to be the fat end of the tip in the center of the circle. Squeeze, move the tip outward, and come back in. Turn the cupcake and repeat this motion. Pipe a row of petals all around the circle. I probably didn't need to pipe a second green circle. One would have been plenty. When you get back to the beginning, pipe a second row of petals in between the petals you just made. Once you've done your second row, look at the flower and see if there are any empty spaces. If you find one, just add a petal and repeat until the flower looks full. Take your brown frosting with the Wilton 13 and pipe a few stars to fill the hole in the middle. Then pipe some stars around to make a circle. Pipe enough so that you end up with a nicely rounded center. For the next flower, I'm just going to pipe one green ring and I'll put it in the fridge to harden the frosting. Okay, so we're going to do a mini Gerbera, and I'm using the same adjusted 101 tip with the burgundy. I have some black frosting with a Wilton No. 8, and I have some pink with a Wilton No. 1. These petals are going to be wider than the previous ones we made. Hold your tip at a bit of an angle, squeeze, and make an M motion. Turn the cupcake and pipe another M. Keep doing this all around the ring. Clean your tip and then start a second row. With the black frosting and the Wilton No. 8, hold the tip in the center of the flower, squeeze to fill the void, and slowly pull up. Then come off in a circular motion. Now we're going to pipe the pink stamens with the Wilton No. 1. Place your tip in between the petals and the center, squeeze, and slowly pull up. Then stop squeezing and pull away. Once again, when you're dealing with this small tip, it may take a few times to get the frosting to stick. Go around a second time to fill in any gaps. For the last flower, I'm using the same orange frosting that I used for the Dahlia. Once again, I'm using the adjusted Wilton 101 for the orange. The black has the Wilton No. 8. And this time, the Wilton No. 1 has the leftover frosting from the pumpkins we made earlier. I've placed a ring of green frosting to support my petals. I'm going to pipe similar petals to the Gerbera flower. Place your tip in the center, squeeze, pull up, and make an M motion. Turn your cupcake and repeat. Go all around the ring, then pipe a second row of petals. It really is the second row that gives the flower some volume and height. Now use the black frosting with the Wilton number 8 to fill the center and come off in a circular motion. For the orange stamens, place your Wilton number 1 in between the petals and the center, squeeze and slowly pull up. Then stop squeezing and pull away. Let's make these stamens longer than the pink ones on the Gerbera. We'll pipe a bunch of them and make them kinda wild, like we did with the center of the Dahlia. We're going to add some leaves with the Wilton 352 and the moss green frosting. Again, make sure to hold the tip with the points on the top and bottom. Place your tip in between two of the flowers. Squeeze. Let the frosting balloon out, then slowly move away while you're still squeezing. When you get the size you want, stop squeezing and pull away. Place your tip slightly to the left and under the leaf you just piped. Squeeze, let the frosting balloon out, move back while you're still squeezing, then release the pressure and pull away. Just keep doing this until you fill all the empty spaces around the flowers. We can also place a few small leaves on top. Hold your tip at a 45-degree angle, squeeze, and let a little bit of frosting come out. Stop squeezing and pull away. Finally, let's add a few leaves to the edge of the cupcake. If this triple flower doesn't spell autumn for you, nothing will. Now that we have a small sunflower, it would make sense to have a big sunflower too. We'll be using the Ateco 124K with the yellow. This is a very thin petal tip. It's a slightly smaller version of the Ateco 125K, which we used for the Dahlia. We have the Wilton Star tip number 16 with the brown frosting. I will also use the Wilton 16 on the black frosting. And finally, we have a Wilton number 2 tip with some orange frosting. I've crumb-coated my cupcake with the yellow frosting, and I'm going to use the 1.6-inch cookie cutter to mark out the center of the cupcake. The Ateco 124K is slightly curved, and the long end is going to be against the cupcake towards the center. Hold your tip above the cupcake and place the tip so that the curve is off the cupcake. Only the long end is touching the cupcake. By the way, I didn't mention it earlier, but this applies to the 125K as well. We're going to pipe straight out and come back, in the same way we did for the small sunflower. Place your tip slightly in front of the line you created. Squeeze, move your tip out, go over the edge of the liner and come back in. Then stop squeezing and pull away. Keep doing this all around your cupcake. For the second row, just look for any flat areas or gaps and fill them in by piping the same way. This will give the flower some volume and make it look fuller. Next, we'll use the Wilton 16 with the brown frosting. Pipe some stars all around the edge of the petals to make a circle. We'll do a second row in the center and another row on top of the outer edge. Once this is done, let's switch the tip to the black frosting. Pipe out the brown frosting until you see the black frosting. There goes the brown, and here comes the black. Pipe some stars to fill in the center with black. Then we'll pipe some orange stamens all around the edge of the brown frosting with the Wilton number 2. It's okay if they're not all the same length. Once you've gone all around, you can do a second row. Now that is a big sunflower. This next cupcake has a bit of a backstory. When I was looking for inspiration to make these autumn cupcakes, I came across a lot of photos of fall wedding bouquets, and a lot of these bouquets had wheat in them. So I thought it would be fun to try and create some buttercream wheat. I tried using Pocky sticks, but they were too wide, and you could see the chocolate through the buttercream. I also tested with some dried spaghetti, but I really didn't want to put something inedible on my cupcake. I finally decided to go with the Pocky stick, but by shaving the chocolate and some of the cookie with a peeler. This allowed me to 1. Get rid of the chocolate, and 2. Make the stick thinner. So with that in mind, let's make some wheat. I've placed each Pocky stick in a shot glass with some paper towel in the bottom so they can stick out high enough that I can easily put them in and take them out of the glass. With the Wilton number 10, I'm going to cover each of the Pocky sticks with beige frosting. Push the Pocky stick up into the tip until it covers the part that was shaved. Squeeze the bag and slowly pull up until the stick comes out covered in frosting. Place the stick back in the glass. We'll repeat this with the 2 other sticks. These will go in the fridge for 10 minutes to harden the frosting. I've switched the tip on the beige bag for the Ateco 349, which is a small leaf tip. I'm taking 1 Pocky stick out of the fridge at a time. Place the tip at the top of the stick. Squeeze, move away from the stick, stop squeezing, and pull away to the side. We're basically piping some small leaves, but in order to avoid hitting the previous leaf with the tip, I have to pull away to the side. Place your tip below the leaf you just piped, squeeze, move back, stop squeezing, and pull away. Just keep doing this all the way down one side of the stick. Once you've done 1 row, clean your tip, turn the stick, and start a 2nd row back at the top. You should be able to get 4 or 5 rows on 1 stick. So that's what the wheat looks like when it's finished. It looks kind of abstract, but that's okay, because decorating cupcakes is an art, and sometimes art is abstract. This is my version of wheat. I'd love to get your take on how you would make these. Let me know in the comments, because I really want to know if anyone has ever made wheat out of buttercream before. All right, we'll pipe 2 more wheat sticks like the one we just made. Make sure to place them back in the fridge as soon as the piping is done. Okay, so we'll leave the wheat sticks in the fridge while we prepare the rest of the cupcake. I've already put a crumb coat, and I'm marking out 3 areas with the 1-inch cookie cutter. That back one is for the wheat. We're going to do some mini hydrangeas in burgundy to tie them in with the Gerberas. I have some moss green frosting and a Wilton number 12 round tip. And then for this bag, I applied some burgundy all around the bag, and I added some beige in the center to get a nice 2-tone effect. If you want to know how to fill the bag, I explain it all in great detail in my video on 2-tone rosettes. We'll put a link in the description. The tip is an Ateco 28, which is a closed star tip. We'll start by piping a dome with the Wilton number 12. Place your tip at a 90-degree angle above the circle. Squeeze, let the frosting balloon out, and slowly raise the tip while you're still squeezing. You can move the tip around in a circle to spread the dome out a bit. When the dome is about 1 inch high, stop squeezing and come off in a circular motion. Next, let's test our burgundy bag to make sure both colors are coming out. Okay, there we go. Place the tip at the bottom of the dome, hold it a bit away from the dome, squeeze, wiggle the tip a bit, stop squeezing, and pull away. Turn your cupcake and pipe another star. Go all around the base of the dome, then move up and start a 2nd row. Just keep piping until you've covered the entire dome. The final element will be a small sunflower, just like the one we piped on the floral trio cupcake. Make sure to put the cupcake in the fridge before piping this flower, as it'll harden the green ring and protect the hydrangea. We already know how to make this one, so let's just fast forward to the next step. Okay, we are finally ready for the wheat. I'll take 1 stick of wheat and I'm going to break it about here, so this part will go into the cupcake. I'm going to use the broken part to poke some holes in the cupcake. Since the top of my Pocky stick has frosting, I can't really push down on it. It'll be easier to have pre-poked holes in the cupcake. I'm going to use some tweezers to guide the stick into the hole. While my hands are free, let me make the holes for the other 2 sticks of wheat. Okay, so again, let's break the stick, then put it in the hole and push it down with the tweezers. And now for the 3rd one. Hey, there we go. They all fit. Now, to finish it off, we'll pipe some moss green grass on the empty spaces with the Wilton 233 and the number 2. And there you have it, our trio cupcake with, for the very first time, buttercream wheat. For our last flower, we're going to do a multicolor chrysanthemum. In order to repeat the color from the wheat, we'll start with the beige frosting. We'll be using an Ateco 80, which is a smiley face petal tip. Then we'll switch to the pink, and then we'll finish it off with the burgundy. I've crumb-coated my cupcake with the beige frosting. When I pipe a chrysanthemum, I like to hold my cupcake sideways so I can see how far away from the edge I'm piping the petals. They need to be past the liner, but not too far. Place the tip on the edge of the cupcake, squeeze, and pull up until the tip passes the edge of the liner. Then stop squeezing and pull away. Turn the cupcake and pipe another petal. Keep piping all around the edge of the cupcake. Clean your tip and start a second row. Start your next petals in between 2 existing petals. Now that I'm no longer piping on the edge, I've changed the angle of my cupcake to pipe a bit more upward. Let's do one more row of beige. All right, I've cleaned out the tip and switched it over to the pink frosting. So basically, start the pink petals in between the petals that are already piped. We'll do 2 rows of pink so we can leave enough room for the burgundy. So I cleaned out the tip again and placed it on the burgundy. Now, this is where it can get tricky. Instead of working from the outside in, we'll work from the inside out. With this little space in the center, pipe a small mound, and then pipe some petals over the mound until it's covered. Finally, we'll pipe a row of petals straight up to fill the rest of the space. And as quickly as you can say chrysanthemum, we have our last cupcake. So now you know the secrets to making your cupcakes come together as one. I hope this video has inspired you to start coordinating your colors and coming up with amazing ideas on how to create beautiful cupcake ensembles. Thanks for watching and happy baking!